That was very smooth.
I think that was one of our better ones so far.
I don't think it's ever going to happen again.
We can just cut this clip and use
I
it.
should put the time on. So tell us about this episode, Ciara.
Okay, on this episode, we are talking about what we think self-care is.
A very important topic.
A very important topic.
I mean, particularly in this day and age when everything's running as fast as it is.
Yes.
And we're very quick to forget ourselves.
Yes.
Not just in work, but in life.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I learned in 2019. Gotta look after yourself too.
Jonathan Von Ness would say, have those self-care moments, honey.
I love him
so much.
I can't believe we just referenced him on our podcast.
I did.
By the way, he has his own podcast. It's really, really worth a listen.
Getting Curious, is that the name of it?
Yeah, it's so good. I really
Hey,
like
Jonathan, if you're listening, hi.
Give us a shout out. We kind of love it.
He's
Yeah,
clearly
panda,
not
panda,
listening.
panda.
I think I need to bring my confidence levels down about 7,000.
I don't know. I mean, it's who we are, right?
Maybe if we tag his podcast, maybe he'll listen to us.
Done.
Into it. Jonathan, how are you? Anyway.
And if you want to get curious, we're sign language interpreters. That maybe you want to get curious about sign language and interpreting.
Oh, wow. Oh my God. Romy's just invited us on to Jonathan Von Ness's podcast. I think we need to calm down. Our brand isn't that big yet, Romy.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true.
Millennials that we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so sorry. We are talking about self-care.
We're talking about self-care and how important that is.
It is very important.
It's so important. It's important for everybody, as you said, but I feel interpreting incredibly important because you put your whole self into being an interpreter, I find anyway, because it's not
definitely.
just, mentally, it's a whole physical thing.
No, it is. I mean,
sign language interpreting is a physical thing.
It is. I mean, we have talked about, what are we? We're now on episode 5, 6? I can't remember.
We're on episode 5 now, Romy.
5. So we have talked about team interpreting, we've talked about prep, and these are all keys and strategies to help in the stress ball of life that is interpreting. But there's so much more to it than that, right? Because you've got the internal, the intrapersonal skills that we've talked about, where you and yourself may be having a down day and that affects things. Or for me, I've got RSI, repetitive strain injury. Yeah, I do. I've had it since I was I'd say 12 or 13.
Stop.
Yeah, I've had really bad posture growing up, and then I play piano, and I didn't realize it until I was 14 that my right shoulder all here gets real sore.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I've had a couple of interpreters turn to me and be be so careful, because how I interpret, I've changed my style, but how I interpreted before into sign, my shoulders would always be so tight the whole time, and part of it is stress of interpreting the information, but another side of it is you're on stage, everything's just tightened up, and I've been in quite stressful situations, so it made my back so much worse. So one or two times I've had to opt out and lie on the floor for an hour or two.
Oh, Romy.
Oh no, for real. Do you remember the job we worked together that was the conference of madness?
Yeah.
We worked together Monday through Wednesday. Yeah. Thursday I was working with 2 other colleagues, and my back kicked out so bad that I was weeping while I was interpreting, and I had to switch languages. So I was originally working in international sign, standing, and it got to a point where I couldn't stand because it was so painful, so I had to sit down and switch to ISL.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No, that was it was partly the stress of the job itself, but also I hadn't been looking after myself for really far up until that point. I'd been traveling quite a lot. I was working in Dublin, in Galway, and I was flying to Brussels back and forth. Which is why self-care is so important.
Romy.
Yeah, no, for real. That's why 2020 is my year, is for self-care.
I think that's very important, and actually kind of leads on to my first point about self-care, which is the physical side of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
As you said, sign language is so physical, and
totally.
And it's just natural when your body is under pressure, particularly if it's in an extended period of time. Because, there's a lot of pressure when it comes to, and stress that's put on your body when you're interpreting. Because you've got so many different efforts going on in your body. You've got your listening, you've got that processing in your brain, you've got that physically having to output that into sign language. And there are some things that are just, they put a lot of stress on. For example, finger spelling. So spelling things out on your hand. So in Irish Sign Language, that's on one hand. So that's a lot of pressure. Unless you can swap between 2 hands, that's a lot of pressure on one specific dominant hand.
No, it is.
Particularly if there's a lot of, say, for example, names or specific terms that really need to be spelt out.
Yeah.
That can have a really big effect on that whole muscle, not just in your hand, but runs all up to your arm and all the way into your shoulder.
That's where the RSI can kick in for me as well. Definitely. I've definitely had it go... I can't remember what it was. I can't remember what job, but I remember it was a lot of spelling. I think it might have been a board meeting. And one term, there was just a lot of terms that couldn't be initialized for whatever reason. And I remember coming out of it and like my arm had like zinged is the only way I could describe it. It was like buzzing and the nerve wasn't happy. Yeah. So it's actually a very, very physical thing. And I found when I first started interpreting, because obviously you're always, everything is new, so you're always nervous going into things. Oh my god,
like that's just natural.
Yeah,
but that kind of, you're a bit tense, so I would feel the tension would really affect my shoulders. So I would finish work and my shoulders would just be so tense and like sore, really, really sore, and I could feel that. And as well, if you're relying on spelling lots of things, you can feel that in those kind of, I used to feel it like the back of my hand, like
no way.
Yeah, because you're just like a little ball of tension. Completely. And especially as well, if I don't find it as bad if I'm standing while I'm interpreting, because I think in a way that's kind of more natural. But if you're in sitting on a chair, or maybe it's not a very comfortable chair, or if it has arms,
oh my god, like
so your
the demon chair of sign language interpreting,
you're like restricted.
Yeah.
Or if you're working, say for example, on a computer screen and you're signing through that way, again your frame is restricted, so your signing space is smaller, so everything is just a bit tighter. You might be hunched over a computer. There's so many things that actually can affect the physical side of things.
Absolutely.
So I'm really excited we have our guest today, Anthony Claffey, who is as I alluded to in a previous episode, I have my interpreting big brother, that's Anthony, and my sensei.
Her sensei, yeah.
No, but an actual sensei when it comes to this, because he knows how these things affect your body and what really, really, really effective things that you can do to protect yourself. It's not even like a self-care and like a flowery sense of the word. It is physically making sure you are protecting your body from the stress and the batter of sign language interpreting, because that's, as I said, they're all the things that I used to feel. And then Anthony taught me these like stretches and movements that I can use before I start interpreting, and I do them pretty much every single time I interpret, and I have not had near the problems that I had before.
Isn't Anthony a physiotherapist?
He is,
yeah. So he's got this beautiful way of seeing sign language interpreting and knowing
into, like,
physio,
anatomy and movement.
That's it, but he knows how. It's not like a theoretical for him. He physically knows what it's like to be a sign language interpreter, so he can apply those skills in a really incredible way. I was really sad that I missed that training. He gave a training to sign language interpreters about physical self-care and stretches. But Ciara gave me a synopsis and it was great.
I did. And also Anthony has a great YouTube channel.
Does he?
Yeah, he does.
Oh my god, plug it.
We'll give him all socials.
Yeah, absolutely.
He'll explain far better than I am. He really will. But the things, and just so simple, and honestly doesn't even take time. And it's like, okay, we've gone, as we were talking about before, preparation. We've done all the preparation when it comes to vocabulary and linguistic choices and environmental things and what we're going to wear. But you have to remember that we're in like a very physical job as well. So with that preparation comes warming up.
Truly.
You know?
Yeah.
To warm up physically, because, you know, our hands at the end of the day, if we don't have our hands,
what do we
have? Don't really have a job. So we have to protect them.
No, we do.
And it's so important.
Like my physical ones, I don't stretch as much as I definitely should be doing. But I'm now trying to do, for the physical side of things, I'm walking every day, which I didn't do before. So it's like not intense exercise, but I'm trying to block out 30 minutes every day where I am just walking and like maybe listening to a podcast such as The Lean.
Our soothing tones to relax you on your walk.
I mean, self-care. I love that we're plugging our podcast on our podcast. You know.
Shameless. Shameless we are.
But that 30 minutes, like, I haven't, because it's still early in 2020, I haven't started working yet, because we're recording a little bit ahead of work getting insane. So what I'm trying to do every day is like wake up, go for a 30-minute walk and start my day. And part of that is to loosen things up as well, like a physical warm-up, not focusing on any muscles in particular, but just that physical, getting the heart going, switching the brain off, which I think is very important, and just mentally preparing for the day as well. But it's the physical side that I find, like, I've been doing it for the last week or so. I've already felt a difference, which is nice.
Yeah.
I like being able to say things like that.
Yeah, but it's so important.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
And as well, your eyes is another thing.
Oh my god, I remember when we started in the Centre for Deaf Studies in first year, having no sign language, having those like 3-hour lectures, and then we'd have a 2-hour break, and then whatever lectures in the afternoon. And the first 3 hours would be sign language, and we'd have no interpreter, and it would be like A, B, C. Yeah. I remember in those 2-hour time slots, I would go home to my apartment and sleep.
Yeah.
Because my eyes
so tired.
Were they'd never been used in that way before.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And they still get tired.
Yeah.
You know, even now I find my eyes get really, really tired.
Especially if it's a tough...
wearing glasses recently.
They suit you.
I think that might have been part of the reason why my eyes were tired.
No, but I mean, particularly if you're on a very tough task, maybe it's... I've done like general assemblies where it's only deaf people. And it's 8 hours of watching signs. And like, if you're doing it passively, that's one thing.
But when you're intensely focused.
Oh my god. Yeah. And trying to catch every nuance. Because it's being minuted from your voiceover. It's.
And then especially if you were in a room, say, with fluorescent lighting.
Oh.
Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Just hard.
But
it's hard on those eyes.
No, it is. And it's always at those jobs that I have a bath afterwards. Always, always, always at those jobs. I have a bath afterwards. Close my eyes. Put on some music.
Break, you know?
Yeah, no, 100%.
So important.
Yeah.
Which I suppose is so important while interpreting, to make sure you have adequate breaks.
Yes.
Not just, you know, because you want to have a cup of tea. Because you actually, like, physically, your body, your mind, your soul, your eyes all need a rest. Just like a little break.
Absolutely.
It's very physically intensive. And I think it's one of those things where you don't realise how much it affects your entire body. I feel like I'm like being like interpreting so hard, but it's like it's you don't realize it until you do it.
Yeah, it's true.
It's a very physical thing. It's a full body experience.
Can I tell you, like, the best thing I ever heard? There was this massive linguistics conference, really high level, high octane, and they organised they basically got a company who are sign language interpreters, and they organised the setup for interpreters, and I was like, holy crap, I want this in every job I go to. And it was things like you had one whole day with meetings organized with your speakers, so you could like talk to them and like figure out what they're saying. So like, all prep side aside, because we've already talked about that in another episode, the self-care side of it was amazing. They had, if I'm not much mistaken, 3 rooms for interpreters. Now, one room was the prep room. That was a place where you go in for quiet time, look at your documents, maybe chat with your colleague, but more, it was literally focused on your prep, which is amazing. They had a room, now this conference was 5 days long, that always had tea, coffee, fruit, snacks, chocolate, little bits and pieces, and bean bags, and just a chill zone, so that when you're working in these high octane spaces, if you need a mind break or a physical break, you can physically opt out without being rude and go to this interpreting room just to chill. Amazing. And then the third room, I can't remember what it was for, but that one really stuck out to me, that there was that space that an interpreter could go to in those situations. If you want to debrief about something.
If you want to put in my terms and conditions, I will not be booked without a beanbag in future.
I just thought it was genius.
Honestly, that's so good. So that's just so important.
Yeah. And that's the physical side of things. Like in a job. There's also, as an interpreter, so many interpreters are freelance, and the stresses that come along with those. We're talking about the negative stuff. We will get to the positive and help yourself out stuff soon. Like if you're working freelance, when your next job is coming in,
taxes, very stressful thing.
Oh my god.
Following up on invoices,
ensuring you get paid.
You know, getting contacted about assignments. Should you take it? Should you not take it? Specifically difficult when you start interpreting. Always difficult, really, but like really kind of be hard to know where to go, what to do, especially if you don't have kind of a mentor figure or someone that you can bounce things off.
Yeah, true.
That can lead to a lot of internal stress and kind of anxiety. Because world of interpreting can be a little scary to start in.
No kidding.
If you don't have the right supports and the right kind of self-care measures in place.
But I think you had something to say about jobs that come up and the importance of, I don't want to give it away, but saying no. Yeah.
Well, sometimes if something comes up and you, maybe, for example, you've got a very busy week and you just, you know, even if you have a free afternoon and something comes up, but you know the rest of the week is going to cause you, just, I suppose, being self-aware, and if you know that's going to cause you a bit of stress and a bit of, say if it's something that you might be a bit worried about or you're feeling a bit anxious for, and sometimes to avoid like all of that like internal stress, and the amount of work that you're physically putting on yourself, sometimes you have to say no, and no one likes saying no. Let's be honest, no one likes saying no, especially in interpreting. There are not enough interpreters,
particularly,
and you don't want someone to have to go without an interpreter.
Right, it's in the sign language realm.
In the sign language world, yeah. But sometimes to actually protect yourself and worse consequences down the line, I think it's very, very, very important to be self-aware and know when too much is too much.
No, it's so true.
Because it's not going to help anyone if you burn yourself out and
our
you're
profession
left without a great member of your interpreting community, because they've said, I just can't do it anymore because I'm physically, mentally, emotionally just not able.
And so many, in interpreting sign language, spoken language, so many interpreters burn out. And I think it's the fear of saying no. It's the putting the stress on your body, forgetting how stressful interpreting can be. Yeah. I was listening to the Troublesome Terps, which Cormac put us on to. And I was listening to one of the episodes where they were talking...
Another podcast, by the way.
Yeah, the Troublesome Terps is real good. They talk about things very interestingly. I quite like the perspectives that come up. And one thing they were talking about is when you are like on a roll, you are flying as an interpreter, everything is just like going so well. And then you don't realize the stress you're under, because it's like the stress, it's the adrenaline rush that comes with like being on such a good run in such a stressful situation. And then after the task is finished, or your 20 minutes is finished or whatever, you have that drain, like you come down from that high and you realize how much stress your body has been under. Yeah. So like interpreters, they burn out, and it's so important to look after yourself.
So important.
Which is why we have this episode, right? Yeah. What are your ways of unwinding, looking after yourself? What are your go-tos? Just in general. In general.
Is running is my fave.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't run.
To run all my stresses out.
That's nice.
Yeah. As I mentioned before, do all my stretches.
Yes,
or
you do.
I interpret. I think that's kind of the third part when it comes to self-care. Like, interpreting, it's a personal job. You're working with people. With people come emotions, and sometimes you're going to find yourself in very difficult situations. Not just you as the interpreter, but it could be very difficult for someone. Like, there could be a lot of emotions. There could be all sorts going on. You just don't know. And you, as much as you try to separate yourself from that, at the end of the day, you're the one interpreting someone's thoughts, someone's feelings, and that is physically, in a way, going through you. So, of course, there's going to be... you can be affected by that. I know it's, as you said, it's so important to try and like not let it get to you, but there are times that maybe you might leave somewhere and you still kind of feel it, and I suppose it's kind of putting in those kind of systems, if you like, or strategies to how you deal with that. If it's I spoke to one interpreter before about kind of a similar situation, and they were like afterwards they washed their hands, as in like they washed away. Like
literally or figuratively,
physically, if it's like something that's difficult or like they like wash their hands. Another interpreter I spoke to, I hope they don't mind me giving their examples on the podcast, was, I think they said they let themselves think about it until on their drive home, if they like, until they get out of the car, and then it's kind of left.
Yeah. So. I know any extremely tough job I've had emotionally, I always end up shower or bath. They're like as a Pisces. It comes back to the Piscean in me, I'm sure. I know you mentioned in another episode you're a Virgo. I'm a Pisces.
She's balanced. Is Pisces balanced?
Yeah, there's like the fish above water and the fish underwater, so it's always about that duality. My mom's an astrologer, for anyone who's listening. It's the only reason I know this. But no, honestly, I always end up like in a shower or in a bath, just being like, let it out, let it go. Yeah. And I think it's so important to do that for your working health. Yeah.
So there's a lot involved in self-care.
I think so, and it
is very relevant.
It applies to professional and personal life, and it's something I don't know if struggling is the right word, but it's a constant learning. Like, I find one system will work for a short time, and then it just doesn't work anymore. Yeah,
I think it comes back again to being aware and being very self-aware of yourself.
Self-aware of yourself.
Self-aware of yourself. That wasn't a good sentence, was it?
I liked it. I mean, we're keeping it in. I also actually find this, I know it's going to sound crazy, but this podcasting helps. Even if it goes absolutely nowhere, it's so nice to talk about these topics.
It's so fun. I love talking about interpreting. So anything related to it just brings my soul joy.
Absolutely.
This is great self-care.
And like the thing is, I fell into interpreting and became obsessed with it because it's like a massive jigsaw puzzle in your head that you're trying to figure out constantly, and there's so much politics that comes with it, and you learn a lot on the job, well, within your realm and in other realms, and being able to talk about it to someone without their eyes glazing over is amazing.
It's great.
Because the amount of times I've been like, well, sign language is this and sign language interpreting is that, and people are like running, like slowly shuffling back from me.
Great.
Okay,
Okay, I think it's time to welcome our very special guest,
Woot,
Mr. Anthony Claffey,
Who
sensei, big brother to all
Mostly
interpreters, mostly me.
Come on, Anto.
Come on in, Anto. Well, now we are joined by the one, the only, Anthony Claffey, who can't stop laughing at me. Anthony, you're very welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us on the lean.
Thank you.
Well, Anthony, would you like to introduce yourself to anyone listening who may not know who you are? I mean, they should know who you are, but in case they don't.
It's for, as you keep saying, our international audiences.
Our international viewers.
Okay, so my name is Anthony Claffey. I currently work as a physiotherapist, and I previously worked as a Irish Sign Language interpreter. I qualified as an interpreter in 2013, I think.
That makes sense, because when we were in first year, you were like our fourth year mentor.
Yeah.
So that would work out mathematically.
And I got into interpreting because my partner is deaf, and we've been together now 12 years, believe it or not.
No way.
Yeah, a long time.
Oh my God.
So that was how I started learning design, and then the idea of working for myself, being self-employed, and the role of being an interpreter appealed to me. So that's when I started doing that degree, and I suppose at the same time while I was doing that, my brain was kind of getting drawn elsewhere into how the body works, and so when I finished that degree, even though I was working as an interpreter, I had started a second degree at the same time. So I ended up kind of covering 2 degrees in the space of 9 years, which was a bit intense.
Means you're super smart, though.
There's something in there. I'm not sure what it is, but so yeah, that's kind of my background in a nutshell. So I currently work now solely as a physiotherapist, and I'm predominantly known for my work with anatomy, motion, and Gary Ward and that type of work. That's becoming quite well known in the world now, so it would be slightly different than what people would consider conventional physiotherapy.
What is it?
Anatomy Motion is the name of the educational company, you could call it.
Okay.
So I've been doing that kind of for the last 4 years now. And I was previously like part-time interpreting, part-time this, and then I kind of transitioned into fully doing this. So interpreting is mostly ad hoc, or whenever Nolene tells me she needs an interpreter, I'm ready to go.
That's kind of handy, having your own like personal in-house interpreter at all times.
Oh yeah. And I'm my in-house makeup artist.
Yeah, works really well.
That's it.
That's a partnership.
If I'm ever stuck.
Yeah. How'd you get into physio?
I think it was to do with my own background, heavily based sporting background, and I had a couple of injuries, a couple of knee operations. Actually, I had one of my knee operations while I was still studying as an interpreter. Actually, that was the last straw for me. Yeah, I was in my second year in the Centre for Deaf Studies in Trinity College. And that was my last knee operation. And then after that, I just said, I'm fed up with this. I'm not taking it anymore. There has to be a reason why my body feels like a mess.
Yeah.
And I wanted answers. And what I remember was that when I first met my partner Nolene, that what inspired me about her was she was the type of person who did everything she wanted to do. And when I look back now to when we met, so we met in Australia.
On Christmas Day, sorry, I know the story and I love the story, and I just
you met on Christmas Day in Australia.
Day,
on a beach, yeah. Sorry.
2000.
That's a podcast in itself.
2008, yeah. There's no sign at the time either.
You just bumped into each other.
It's even more random than that. So
It's a beautiful story.
I went to Australia with 2 friends, and one of those friends played football with a deaf guy.
Right.
And that deaf guy was in Australia, and his friend was a cousin of a friend of mine.
Right.
Who was also in Australia. So they had met as a group. We had arrived, and then my friend said, "Oh, my cousin's here. Let's meet him," which we met the deaf guy, and the deaf guy said, "Oh, there's other deaf people here. Why don't we all meet on Christmas Day?" So we all met Christmas Day as a big group of about 20 of us, and Nolene was there. And I remember Nolene was cooking, making burgers, and I had walked over and said, "Give us a burger." And Nolene turned around and said, I'm deaf.
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay, give us a burger." And that's how our conversation started, and that's how we met, and then the rest is history, I suppose.
And she inspired you to do what you want to do.
That's exactly what it was. So
cool.
What I realised was that how I treat my body, how I looked at life, was basically an echo chamber of all the people around me, and how I was brought up. And we're brought up being told what to do, how to eat, how to live, and we kind of lose our own autonomy.
Right.
But the irony of that is, I find that when we're a child, we're born the most autonomous human we can be. We do everything we want to do. We touch everything, grab everything, put everything into our mouth, cry if we want attention. This is what babies do.
Yeah.
And then I realised that I'd lost that throughout my teens, into my 20s, just copied everyone else. And then when I met Nolene, I had this kind of driving force inside me that will go do the shit you like, whatever you're interested in, go do it. And it's been that way ever since.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and like it's sad in a way that as you see so many adults who do things they don't want to do, jobs they don't like, and then have no self-awareness of this at all, when you have it in the purest form when you're born.
Yeah.
And I think that's fascinating. That was your question about physiotherapy.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Yeah, so from then, when the last operation happened, it was the 3rd time my knee had been operated on, and I said, no more. So that's when I started to look for answers, and that just led me down a rabbit hole, and I basically became a human guinea pig. And instead of just taking someone's opinion and agreeing with it, I take the information and embody it myself and find out what I thought of that information.
Yeah.
So that I could let my body tell me yes or no instead of someone else's opinion. So then the rabbit hole just kept going and going and going, and I suppose here I am now.
Yeah.
So wise.
Yeah. it's like a personal journey, right? And I think it's what everyone goes through anyway. It just happens differently for different people, exactly. Right?
It's life.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's it. It's life.
Yeah.
Duh.
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful. Anthony, tell us, what do you think self-care is?
It's a very, very, very broad topic.
It's a big question,
Yeah.
and we want you to answer it in 15 minutes. Go.
I think as humans we have an innate internal awareness of ourselves, of our own system, and by system I mean everything that's in here, and that all of the information that's happening in here, like our hearts are beating now, or we're breathing for ourselves, our food is being digested, it's all happening under the radar, and we're not aware of it, but we have the ability to tap into it and to start to notice those things. But I think people are losing the ability to do that, and lots of people I meet like daily, their level of introspection, self-awareness to be able to look inward is lacking, both physically and mentally. So people say, oh yeah, I know what I'm like when this happens, I get stressed and I do this, and they'll have the mental awareness, but the physical awareness is very lacking. And a very simple example, if I was to ask both of you just to stand up and ask you where the pressure was in both of your feet, and you just to stand and let the weight of your body, gravity, take it into the ground, just feel what the pressure was like, would you be able to describe it to me? And technically you should be, because you're standing on the ground and the ground is there and you have pressure pads on your feet, so you should be able to feel it. But if you can pick 10 people from the street and stand them in front of us and ask them to do this, and they'd struggle. And then only by me describing it to them, they'd start to become aware of it. And so I think self-care is embodying all of those components. It's kind of what you talked about earlier. You know, there is a mental side, there is a physical side, there's a social side. There's all of those sides, but it's actually having awareness of those and owning it. And then if you're aware of something, it means you have a choice to do something about it. And I suppose if you're unaware of something, you don't know what's happening, so you're not aware. It means you can't do anything about it, and you get stuck in the same cycle. And then if you're stuck in the same cycle, the same habit will repeatedly happen over and over again. You'll repeatedly get stressed for the same reason again. You'll have tension for the same reason again. You'll be agitated for the same reason again. Or you can notice, and then if you notice, then the choice, you know, presents itself to do I want to do something about it, or do I want to stay the same?
Yeah.
That to me is self-care.
So noticing.
Self-awareness.
Yeah. Like introspection is that ability to look inward.
And then make a choice based on that, right?
Yeah. If you think of all our senses look outwards into the world. Your eyes look outwards, your sense of smell is outwards, this thing is outwards, and nothing goes inward. But all of the systems that look after our body are all in here. You know, you can't see them, but you just know they're there.
And they give you warnings as well. Like my mum always talks about, like, if you've got an earache, well, it's happened for a reason, or, you know, it sounds like kind of ludicrous, but when you really look into it, you're like, I know, but I wasn't looking after myself. Like, that's the way the body projects it out. Through pain or sadness, or
it will give you the information.
It's just we need to be aware of it and take notice of it.
Like last night I told you my neighbours were having a dance party and I was awake all night. So then this morning I woke up as if I was hungover. So that's how I felt this morning. And I know, like, I felt drained, I felt tired. I've drank 1.5 litres of water already today. But I can feel it in my body telling me that your night's sleep was terrible. Now, so my brain is telling me now, your Saturday is going to be easy. You're not going to do very much.
Apart from record a great podcast.
And blow people's minds.
And you know, and be slightly annoyed at my neighbours for having their party till 4 in the morning. You know, but it's that what information is going in here. There's so much stuff that happens under the radar that we aren't aware of. And I find it fascinating how, do you know the way the perception of if I go to a hospital, the hospital will fix me, or if I go to the doctor fixes me, and physiologically that's not what happens. So if you break an arm, the arm is put into a cast. It just puts the arm in an environment for it that it can heal itself, and the bones will regenerate and heal itself. The doctor didn't do it, the hospital didn't do it. It's the same with medication. Medication doesn't fix you, it interacts with your own body, and your own body creates an environment where it can do something about it. So all of that stuff is happening all of the time, which means that we can interact with this vessel that we happen to embody on our, you know, our tenure of life on earth, and we can do something about it if we choose to.
I think it goes back to choice a lot, doesn't it?
I suppose being very open to it as well. I know when we had Teresa on, she was saying her like top tip was to be open, and I know that was in like an interpreting context, but it comes back to the same thing with self-care. There's a lot of kind of overlapping themes we've got going on here, but it comes if you're like, as you said, you believe that this is the way I react in certain situations. If I feel stressed, I will do this, then automatically your body will just do it, and it will go into those habits, rather than being open to creating new, like, healthier habits that will help you manage it in a better way.
Exactly.
You know?
But I also like this idea of, like, hospitals don't fix you. They give you the means to fix yourself. Because I think that happens a lot, right? Where people go in and are like, I'll be cured. It's like, well, actually, like, if people have an operation, you have to do physio afterwards. A lot of people don't do the physio after, thinking, oh no, but it's done, I'm out of the hospital. I think it's a very, very interesting point. Doing a lot of soul searching right here now.
But like, when you start to think of it logically, it's truth.
Absolutely.
And the way social media and the world is going now, it's there's lots of opinions that are thrown around the place, and then people just echo those opinions. But then if you're asking to explain the opinion on a very basic level, they can't because someone else said it.
Yeah.
Where we need to make the decisions for ourselves. And this is happening non-stop if you're an interpreter. You have this decision making, and how you take in information and then reproduce the information. And not one of you said it earlier, but you were talking about was the finger spelling.
Oh yeah.
And how it can get tiring, etc. And it's when your hands down time is what do you do in that hands down time.
Yeah.
So when if I have hands down time when I'm interpreting, so we used to work together a lot, and the hands down time, while I'll still be there to assist and monitor team interpreter, I'll also let my I call it like let my skeleton rest in the chair.
Oh,
so I literally just like absorb myself and decompress into the chair as if my hands don't have to be kept here; they can be here.
Yeah.
So the only yes, my eyes will be still working, my ears are still working, but this is on shut down. It's ready to go when it needs to be, but it's not here.
It's not tense.
Yeah. It's like looking at it. If you walk into town and you watch people walk, you'll see some people and they walk as if they're agitated and like they're running towards charge.
Yeah.
And they're living their life like that 24/7. And you'll see someone else and they're sauntering and strolling and they're like, they're having a nice day.
Yeah.
And you can see that in people. It's like opening the messy closet and all the stuff is in the way and you can't get to them. That's that person's body.
Yeah.
So when I see people like that, that's what I see. I'm like, that just looks like a mess. Like,
I love how your mind works, Anto. Like, I love it. Like,
but I also love that he looks.
Blows my mind. Like,
I love that he looks at people and go, "You're a mess."
you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
No, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I also think there's got to be a lot of culture around this as well, like because you were talking about people who walk agitatedly or they're like sauntering about, and my brain went like agitated walk. I instantly thought of like New York City and Wall Street, where people are like going and they don't even have time to have coffee and they're just go. And then the sauntering really reminds me of like Mediterranean, like chill in the sun, having a glass of wine at lunch, and then like sauntering back to work. Yeah.
It's lifestyle choice as well.
Yeah. No, true.
You can choose to work in those environments if you want to work there, but no one's forcing you.
Yeah.
It's an honor to work as an interpreter, or you can go and work in a 9 to 5. If you want to do something that serves a purpose for you that you really value, you're also getting to do that. Yes, it can be stressful, etc., but you get the choice to do that. Not everyone has to go and work on Wall Street unless that's what they want to do. And just to remind me, a friend of mine, I won't say his name in case he hears this. he works for a very big company. They're very well known in Ireland, but they shipped him over to America, and he's been over there. He does like 3 or 4 weeks, then he comes back to Dublin for 2 weeks, then he's back over again. He just texted yesterday, said I had to go and get ECG done to my heart. What did he say? High blood pressure, high cholesterol, high something else, and he's not allowed any rich foods, coffee, tea, etc. Because of the environment he's gone into. And he wasn't that person when he was here. But the environment has created that for him. And it means he could still live there, yes, because there's plenty of people in high stress environments, but they have their other tools to care for themselves. But his is just getting a bit out of hand. And he messaged yesterday, and it's a bit of a joke back and forth, but the truth is that the environment that he's currently in isn't the most suitable for his self-care and him looking after his own body or doing the job that he's paid to do. That's his choice. That's his job. They offered him to go and he decided to go.
All comes back to choice, really.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Our top tip for the podcast today is decide, make choices that suit you.
Because none of us are the same.
Right.
And we're all individuals. So it means that not the same thing won't be the same for each of us. And there will be overlap, there has to be. But there will be variants to that overlap, and it's how we use those variants. Same working as an interpreter. Every interpreter's brain when I say elephant, we all see a different elephant.
Yeah.
When I say self-care, we all think of something different, but there will be overlap in how we would discuss it and bring that topic to the table for discussion.
Yeah. Physically, in this case.
Physically. Yes.
As our microphone rests on the table.
We're all around it.
So you've kind of covered it a little bit. Any kind of one specific example that you feel represents self-care? And you talked about your friend and I suppose the choices that like he's made, and you've talked about yourself when it came to your knee and how that kind of started a domino effect.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to add as it comes to experiences that really kind of impacted you or kind of solidified what self-care is for you?
There's a friend of mine called Phil Greenfield. He wrote a book called...
Is this the book? Okay.
Yes.
I know of the book. I'll let Anthony explain.
He wrote a book called Unravelling, Letting Go, Getting Well. It's the best book I've ever read, and I think everyone should buy it.
Is this the book that you took the picture with?
Yes, in Peru.
In Peru and Machu Picchu.
Yeah.
Quite a famous book.
Phil is just one of the nicest humans I've ever met in my life, and we met on Facebook chatting, and then I was like, oh Phil, do you want to come to Dublin and do one of your workshops here? And in Phil's book he talks about noticing, and he done some martial arts in his background, and part of the martial arts training was a standing practice and how to stand, and his kind of phrase he used was rest in your bones. And part of his workshop was not to tell people how to stand, but tell people how to notice how their body stands.
Like you were saying about the feet, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And he would have a group of people and ask them to stand, and then he'd just kind of make some recommendations, not tell them what to do, but just say, here's the recommendations, pay attention to this. And if you listen and pay attention, you can start to feel how you'll feel your body weight pull into the ground, and feel how your bones are there structurally to support you and to take your weight, because that's what they're designed to do. That's how gravity works. And then you can advance the drill, if you want to call it that, by holding your hands out in front like this. And if I was to say I can hold my hands out for 5 minutes, your arms must kill you, it's really difficult. But if you stand in such a way, you can stand them there, and the weight of your arms will pass through your body, down your skeleton, into your feet and into the ground. And when I think of noticing, it always reminds me of Phil, and how he would describe it. And it's just his way of saying, this is how you can pay attention to your skeleton, let it do the work for you. And then I would add on top of that, because that's what it's designed to do.
Yeah.
It does it for you anyway. Let it. But if we hold tension, you'll just cause like a muscle contraction. And if you're about to squeeze your fist as hard as you can, how long would you say you'd last doing that?
Not
20 seconds,
not
30
too long.
seconds, a minute.
I'm training my hand because I damaged it, so not very long at all.
Yeah, and so if you imagine if squeezing a fist causes this much tension in this section of your arm, what would it be like if
feel it go all the way up, like
Yeah.
you can feel it at the top of your arm.
if that was your whole body?
Yeah.
You're back into the messy closet again. You're back to that messy person walking agitated, and then your system is like, "Arr."
Yeah.
And then if you go into all the neuroscience of how the brain works, you're into parasympathetic stress zone, flight or fight, tension.
Yeah.
And then Phil's sitting over here resting in his bones, chilled out, calm, peaceful, clean closet, quiet, everything is soft. But when he needs to be ready, strong, go, he's ready to act. But if you're already here, how can you react to something because you're all go already?
And half exhausted
and
by
so
holding
much
it.
energy being used.
So then when I think of interpreting, when I'm downtime is back resting my bones, and then when I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go. But if I'm already here, I'm going to run out very quickly. And it's just having those subtle awarenesses, and it's just something you need to learn. We all have the same workings of our anatomy, which means we all have the same stuff. We're all the same shape. All our bones look the same. So if I can do it, everyone else can do it. Phil can do it, everyone else can do it. That's probably the biggest takeaway I think people should have. It's not that you have to do this, you have to do that. It's pay some attention to what you want to do, how your body reacts, and then learn to interact with your own body.
Right.
And obviously your brain as well.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's all interconnected, right?
exactly.
Because if I can imagine if you're like this, if you're in like high tense mode and you're not aware of it, and you suddenly become aware of it, your body relaxes, your brain will also come down as well. Like
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
yin and yang.
Exactly, and vice versa.
Yeah.
If your brain is running 1,000 miles an hour, so is your body.
Totally. And like it's interesting you're saying about being in like tense situations. As interpreters, we're in those quite a lot, and how we embody it. So like a control on our side is to be able to decompress and just not let it infiltrate us in the same way as we probably let it.
Yeah.
I know I buy into situations sometimes.
Sometimes you're just so invested, you're
Yeah.
so like, because you're so in it, because you're so
Yeah.
hyper focused
Yeah.
that you just kind of stay like that, and you're and then it's afterwards you feel that kind of exhaustion.
Yeah, because I mentioned it earlier in the episode, you're like in the interpretation, you're like killing it, everything's coming out beautifully, and then the job finishes and you're like, oh my god, so exhausted. But if you were to decompress, take those moments to decompress in between, probably make a massive difference.
Because you still have to be in it.
Sure.
And you still have to be there, but
it doesn't have to be all of you.
Yeah.
Like you said, have your ears open, have your eyes open, be there when you need to be there, but it doesn't have to be tense, I'm here, I gotcha.
Yeah. Even if it's a short, I'm just thinking of Phil again. His example is, now you won't be able to see this, but he can describe it. So, do you see how I'm like this?
Anthony
Leaning
leans
forward.
slightly forward.
And I have my eyebrows raised and my pupils are dilated and then I do this.
Just decompress into
Just
yourself a little bit.
decompress, Yeah, and it's that receding back, or
Yeah.
I like the word decompress.
Yeah. I
it's-
totally stole that from Sarah Sheridan. That's like a word she uses all the time.
Yeah.
She's like, Fridays are my evenings to just decompress, and I just see it in my head as like your body goes from extending to just decompressing, just like an accordion. You're coming in just that little bit.
Yeah. My mentor Gary Ward, who's the creator of the company Anatomy of Motion, and when he talks about the human body and how it moves, he calls it your perceived center. So it's where you are centered, and all movement is on a spectrum, and in essence life is on a spectrum. Here's happy, here's sad, but there's a center point. And you can't be too happy all the time, you can't be too sad all the time. And when he talks about how the body moves, it's here would be something moving left and here would be moving right. Here's an arm lifting up, here's an arm lifting down. And if your body knows both ends of the spectrum, will always pick its own center point. It's the same with posture.
Right.
If I'm always here and I'm slouched, my body doesn't know what here is. But if I stay here all the time, I just cause tension.
Yeah. So
So
you have to get the...
if it knows both, it will choose. Because our body and our brain already knows best for us. It doesn't need to be told what to do.
That's true.
And it's the same for anything, you know.
I totally get why you call him sensei.
Don't you now though?
Like,
don't
so
you
much.
actually?
I was like, oh, it's such a cute relationship they have because they work together. No, but
No,
sensei.
there's a reason. There's genuinely a reason.
Anthony Sensei Claffey.
Yeah. No, seriously. You know, because it's just so. Because Anthony, I could talk to you all day, but it's just like it's just such a fresh perspective.
Yeah, it's true.
Just
Yeah, no,
I just
I'm
love it.
literally...
It's quite simple though, when you think of it.
All
It
the
makes
best
so
things
much
are.
sense.
Yeah.
All the
It
best
just
things are
makes
simple. Like
so
Marie
much
Kondo
sense.
is the same as like,
Yeah.
if it doesn't bring you joy, it doesn't stay in your life. And it's the same kind of concept
Yeah.
with your body.
Yeah.
You and Marie Kondo should like get a podcast or something. How to keep your house clean, how to keep your body clean.
Yeah. It can be applied to anything really.
So that would be your top tip?
Yeah.
Your pearl of wisdom.
Yeah. It's kind of it's kind of how I live my life now. I kind of always have that in the back of my mind. Never liked being told what to do. Still don't like being told what to do, but I like having the choice to make myself. And I think real educators don't tell you what to do; they just provide you with the information, and you make the choice yourself. It's one of the reasons I value my interpreting degree so much. It was the best education I've ever gotten, and it has transferred into everything I've ever done since. So it's why I respect it so much.
It does give you a lot of tools.
A lot of
Yeah.
fundamentals.
That's the one thing I always feel like. I know CDS, Centre for Deaf Studies, some people are a bit critical about it, which from the outside I can get because it's very easy to do. But the one thing I will say about the Centre for Deaf Studies, which I'm very biased and like same as you, I value it so much. But the tools it gives you, like you come out as clay with like so many resources at your disposal that you make choices to use or not use, or like sometimes we forget, which is why we've got continual professional development and these kind of chats happening as well. But it is very much you come out as clay. You're not a perfect product yet. Like you've got what you need to move forward.
Yeah.
Which is why, like, having gone away and then back, I find it really interesting seeing the new CDS students, and their skills are like they're so good. We were talking about one earlier today, like really good signing ability, really good voiceover, but they're still getting used to their tools. And I think that's something we like learn and develop, and it's from CDS, and I'm always like, yeah. So choices and tools.
Yeah, how you use them.
Yeah. And getting the right people around you as well.
Yeah, because if you've similar mindset of people who will bother to notice things, will bother to be creating awareness, and I think it just instills that in you.
It's also the different awarenesses. Like I'm obsessed with interpreting, but team interpreting and how we interact as a team. You look a lot at the anatomy. Like we all think about various aspects of what we do, but in different ways.
Yeah.
So it's like I never would have thought about the body the way you've. Like my brain feels like, oh my god, there's so many more possibilities.
But it all
cool.
overlaps.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Of course.
Which is the cool thing.
It is.
So
it's
we're,
so
we're
cool.
all thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
we all want the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's it, is just taking information from other people and then building your own toolbox. Yeah, in a nutshell, that's what it is.
What a beautiful way to summarise.
Yeah.
That was lovely.
Yeah. This was like really cathartic in some level. I'm just like, huh.
Look, I didn't hype up Anthony for no reason. Like,
No, but the thing in my head, I was like, Anthony's a really cool human being. I'm looking forward to this. And Ciara's like, oh my god, Anthony's amazing. And he's like my sensei. And I'm like, And then we're sitting here. I'm like, oh my god. You're definitely a sensei. Yeah. You've got it instilled. You've even got like the Zen look about you.
he's just calming.
Yeah, isn't he?
You are, Anthony. I think. So there's a few people in my life that I think would genuinely save my life if I was in a life-threatening situation, and Anthony's on my list.
Yeah. Your elevator
I do.
person, yeah.
I think Anthony would get you out of a lift if you're stuck.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You would.
Ciara's got a theory. She and I had a conversation about my boyfriend Nasheen. And she was like, my mom has this theory. Is it your mum, right?
My mum, yeah.
Your mum is this.
Deceptive,
You tell the theory, because it is your mum.
Oh, she believes that, like, just really trust a person. That if they can get you out of a lift, then, like, you're doing well.
Yeah. And, like, Oisin is, like, massive beard. And is, like, Bear Grylls.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, like, super Bear Grylls.
Oisin would get you out of a lift.
Like, he would literally, like, and, like, would do the doors open. But you're another...
Yeah, no, you get you out of a lift.
But you do it, like, with your brain power or something.
No, but you'd be so calm.
Yeah!
You'd be so calm. No one would be worried.
Oh, I'm stuck in a lift.
No.
Oh, it's grand. Anthony's on his own.
It's fine. Let's just do some stretches while we wait for a second.
It's so true.
It's so true.
So true.
Yeah.
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 So I guess that's us wrapping up now, isn't it?
Thank you so much for coming on the Lean, Anthony.
We
It's
really
been a
appreciate
dream.
It has been.
Truly.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
Truly.